All right, so buckle up because we are diving into the future of sports cars. Like what's coming out in 2025. You know, those dream machines we're all drooling over. And thankfully, you found this awesome YouTube video by Classic Wheels TV that breaks down the top contenders. So, expert, you ready to take this thing apart and see what's what?
Absolutely. This Classic Wheels TV video looks like it's got a great lineup. Some familiar names, some unexpected additions. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Well, they don't waste any time jumping right in with a car that's already got everyone talking. The Tesla Roadster. I mean, 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. Is that even legal? Or are we just bending the laws of physics at that point? But speed aside, what else makes the 2025 Roadster special? We've been hearing rumors about this thing forever.
Well, it seems like Tesla is really using the Roadster to kind of show off what electric cars can do, you know, pushing the boundaries. It's not just about raw power anymore. For example, they were talking about a new battery pack that could give it something crazy like 600 miles on a single charge. And sure, a minimalist interior might not sound exciting, but the way they described it, it's like stepping into a spaceship.
A spaceship with a removable roof, apparently. So Tesla's going full future. But what about those of us who still crave that classic roar, that connection to the road? Well, the video then shifts gears to a car that needs no introduction. The Porsche 911 GT3 2025 model, of course. We're talking about a legacy of performance here. So how do you take something iconic and make it even better?
Yeah.
Expert, what are the Porsche engineers cooking up in their secret labs?
Well, they're definitely going for that classic 911 feel, you know, but cranked up to 11. One thing they mentioned was a naturally aspirated engine, which you don't see too often these days. It's like a love letter to the purists who crave that raw linear power. And they completely redesigned the suspension system. So I'm curious to see if they're going for a more track-focused setup or trying to make it a bit more comfortable for everyday driving without sacrificing that, you know, GT3 edge.
So tough balance to strike for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of balance, the video then jumps over to America for a taste of pure muscle. The 2025 Chevrolet Corvette Z06. They made a point of calling it unapologetically American, which makes me think it's sticking with a big, powerful engine. What's new this time around?
The big news with the Z06 is they're bringing back the flat plane crankshaft in the V8 engine.
Now, that's a mouthful. What does that mean for us regular folks who don't speak engine?
Basically, it changes the way the engine fires and vibrates, which gives it that really unique sound and feel. It's not just about power, it's about creating an experience. And Classic Wheels TV really emphasized that they were talking about a symphony of power, but honestly, I'm more interested to see how it feels when you put your foot down and hear that engine roar.
Okay, so it's got the sound and the fury, but can it handle the Erie? The Z06 has a bit of a reputation for being a handful on the track.
Yeah, they touched on that in the video. It sounds like Chevy is really focused on improving the handling for the 2025 model. They mentioned wider tires for better grip, a more sophisticated suspension, and even active aerodynamics. So it seems like they're serious about making the Z06 a real contender on the track, not just a straight line rocket.
Right, that's American muscle pushing the limits. Then Classic Wheels TV hits us with a bit of a curveball. A Ferrari SUV. The Purosangue. Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. Is Ferrari abandoning its roots?
I think it's more about them trying to stay relevant in a changing market without, you know, compromising what Ferrari stands for. The Purosangue is definitely a bold move. But let's look at what we know. It's still got a Ferrari heart under the hood, a massive V12 engine, which is practically unheard of in an SUV. And they made it clear that they put a lot of work into the all-wheel drive system and suspension to make sure it handles like a Ferrari, not like a lumbering truck. So the big question is, can an SUV really deliver that true Ferrari experience?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And speaking of Italian masterpieces, we can't forget about Lamborghini. The video features the Huracan Evo, which is basically a rolling synonym for head-turning design.
Oh yeah, the Huracan Evo is a perfect example of Lamborghini's philosophy. You know, go big or go home. It's all about those sharp angles, dramatic lines, and of course that engine roar that just demands attention.
Or those scissor doors.
Yeah.
Can't forget about those. But it's not just about looks, right?
Definitely not. The Huracan Evo is packed with technology. One thing that caught my eye was something called the Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva system. Basically, it's active aerodynamics that adjust on the fly to optimize downforce and drag depending on what you're doing with the car.
So it's not just about looking fast, it's about actually being fast.
Exactly. Lamborghini put a lot of effort into making the Huracan Evo a beast on the road and a head turner everywhere else.
Okay, so we've got electric ambition, German precision, American muscle, and Italian flair. What's next on our world tour of automotive excellence? Classic Wheels TV then takes us across the pond, back to England for a taste of something a little more refined, the Aston Martin Valhalla. And this one's a hybrid, which seems to be a bit of a theme in this video. What's Aston Martin doing to make the Valhalla stand out in a sea of hybrids?
They seem to be going for a kind of have your cake and eat it too approach with this one. The video mentioned a lightweight carbon fiber construction, like the kind they usually reserve for those super expensive supercars. And because it's so light, they can get away with a smaller engine without sacrificing performance. But the really interesting part is how they're using the electric motors. It's not just about fuel efficiency. It's about using that electric power to give the car an extra kick when you need it most.
So it's got power and precision. But the hybrid train doesn't stop there. Classic Wheels TV also showed the McLaren Artura, which is another car that's kind of blurring the lines between what we think of as a traditional sports car and, the future of electric.
The Artura is interesting because it's a completely new design. They built it from the ground up to be a hybrid sports car. They even designed a whole new chassis just for this platform. And I think they said it can even run on just electric power for short distances. But I'm curious what happens when you want both, the electric motors and the gasoline engine working together. Is it seamless or is it going to feel a bit clunky?
That's the big question, right? How do you make that transition smooth?
Wow.
But get this, Classic Wheels TV saved a real legend for almost last week's. The Nissan GT-R, the R36 generation. We're talking about a car that's earned the nickname Godzilla. So what can we expect from this latest monster?
The GT-R has always been about delivering insane performance without the insane price tag, and it looks like they're sticking to that philosophy with the R36. The video didn't give away too much, but there were some rumors about a possible hybrid powertrain for this generation, which would be pretty wild. Can they keep that raw, visceral feel that the GT-R is known for while also adding electrification? It's a tough challenge.
It's going to be interesting to see if they can pull it off. But if any car can do it, Godzilla can. All right, for our final stop on this automotive world tour, we're heading back to Germany for a taste of luxury and performance. I'm talking about the Audi R8 V10 Performance. What sets this car apart from all the other high-end sports cars out there?
The R8 has always been in a league of its own. It's a supercar that you could actually drive every day. If you had to, Classic Wheels TV made a big deal about the V10 engine, which is becoming a rarity these days.
Yeah.
There's just something special about a naturally aspirated V10 that revs like that. But they also mentioned the Quattro all-wheel drive system, which tells me they're also focusing on making it a more well-rounded car, something you can enjoy on the track as much as on the open road.
A wolf in sheep's clothing, or maybe a panther in a tuxedo?
I like it.
So the R8 is a force to be reckoned with. And last but not least, we have the BMW M8 competition. What's the final word on this German masterpiece?
The M8 competition is basically BMW showing off what they can do. It's designed to be exceptional in every way, from 0 to 60 to taking corners to just cruising on the highway. The thing that stood out to me most was how they talked about the xDrive all-wheel drive system. Apparently, they've fine-tuned it specifically for the M8 competition, trying to find that sweet spot between all-weather capability and, that classic rear-wheel drive feel.
The best of both worlds. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From electric hypercars to hybrid supercars to good old-fashioned internal combustion engines. What are your final thoughts?
It really feels like the lines between different types of sports cars are starting to blur. We're seeing electrification, hybridization, and all this advanced tech in every car we talked about. It makes you wonder what's next. What will the sports car of 2030, even 2025 look like? This video gave us a taste, but I think we're just scratching the surface.
And what an exciting surface it is. Big thanks to you, expert, for geeking out with me today, and to you listening. We'll catch you next time when we dive into another corner of the extraordinary. Classic Wheels TV then takes us across the pond, back to England for a taste of something a little more refined. The Aston Martin Valhalla. And this one's a hybrid, which seems to be a bit of a theme in this video. What's Aston Martin doing to make the Valhalla stand out in a sea of hybrids?
Well, they're definitely going for that have your cake and eat it too kind of vibe. The video was talking about this super lightweight carbon fiber construction. Like they usually reserve that for those, crazy expensive supercars. And because it's so light, they can use a smaller engine without killing the performance. But the really cool part is how they're using the electric motors. It's not just about squeezing out a few more miles per gallon. It's about using that electric power to give you that extra boost when you really need it.
So power and precision got it.
Yeah.
But the hybrid love doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
Classic Wheels TV.
Mm-hmm.
Classic Wheels TV also showed the McLaren Artura, which is another one that's kind of blurring the lines, between what we think of as a traditional sports car and this whole electric revolution.
The Artura is fascinating because it's a clean slate design. Like McLaren built this thing from the ground up to be a hybrid sports car. They even designed a whole new chassis just for this platform. And they were saying it can even run on just electric power for short distances. But I'd be curious to see how it feels when you want both, the electric motors and the gasoline engine working together, if that transition is smooth or if it's going to be a little jarring.
Yeah, that's the magic question, isn't it? Can they make it seamless? But get this, Classic Wheels TV saved a legend for almost last neckweed. The Nissan GTR, the R36 generation. We're talking about a car that's earned the nickname Godzilla. So what can we expect from this latest monster?
The GTR has always been about pushing the limits of performance without, needing a bank loan to afford it. And it seems like they're sticking to that with the R36. The video was pretty light on details, but there were rumors flying around about a possible hybrid powertrain for this generation. Now that would be something else. Can they keep that raw, visceral feel that the GTR is known for while also, going green? It's a tough line to walk.
It'll be interesting to see if they can pull it off.
Yeah.
But hey, if any car can do it, Godzilla can. All right, last stop on our automotive world tour. We're heading back to Germany for a taste of luxury and performance. I'm talking about the Audi R8 V10 Performance. What makes this car stand out from all the other high-end sports cars trying to grab our attention?
The R8 has always been in a category of its own. It's like they took a supercar and made it, practical enough to drive every day if you really wanted to. Classic Wheels TV made a pretty big deal about the V10 engine, which is becoming a rare breed these days. There's just something about a naturally aspirated V10 that you don't get with anything else. But they also talked about the Quattro all-wheel drive system, which makes me think they're aiming for a more well-rounded experience, something you could enjoy on the track just as much as on the open road.
A wolf in sheep's clothing, or maybe a panther in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
I like it. So the R8 is a bit of a sleeper then. And last but certainly not least, we have the BMW M8 competition. What's the final verdict on this German masterpiece?
The M8 competition is BMW saying, hold my beer. It's like they engineered this thing to be the best at everything, speed, handling, luxury, you name it. But the thing that really caught my attention was how they were talking about the xDrive all-wheel drive system. It sounds like they spent a ton of time fine-tuning it for the M8 competition, trying to hit that sweet spot between all-weather capability and that classic rear-wheel drive feel.
The best of both worlds. So we've covered a lot of ground today, from electric hypercars to hybrid supercars to those classic gas-guzzling beasts. What are your final thoughts on the future of sports cars?
It really seems like the lines are starting to blur between all the different types of sports cars. We're seeing electrification, hybridization, and all kinds of crazy tech in every car we talked about. Makes you wonder what's next. What will the sports car of 2030, 2025 even look like? This video gave us a glimpse, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning.
And what a beginning it is.
Yeah.
A huge thanks to you, expert, for indulging my need for speed today, and to everyone listening. We'll see you next time when we take another deep dive into the world of the extraordinary.